What if the most powerful spiritual leader on earth looked a corrupt government dead in the eye, and told them, enough? What if, in the middle of one of Africa's most forgotten wars, a war that has claimed thousands of lives, displaced over 1 million people, and barely made international headlines, a newly crowned pope stepped forward and said the words that no diplomat, no world leader, no UN resolution had the courage to say out loud? That moment happened, and the man who said it is Pope Leo. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will understand not just what Pope Leo said, but why he said it now, what it means for the people of Cameroon, and what this tells us about the kind of papacy the world is about to witness. Welcome back, or if you're new here, a very warm welcome to Royal Chronicles, the channel where we go beyond the headlines, dig into the stories that matter, and give you the full picture that mainstream media never tells you. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell so you never miss a breakdown like this one. We drop content that will genuinely change the way you see the world. You do not want to miss what's coming. Now let's get into it. To understand why Pope Leo's words hit so differently, you first need to understand what has been happening in Cameroon and why most of the world has been looking the other way. Since 2016, the English-speaking regions of Cameroon, the northwest and southwest, have been engulfed in what experts now call one of the worst humanitarian crises on the African continent. On one side, you have Anglophone separatist fighters demanding independence from a French-dominated government. On the other, you have Cameroonian military forces accused by human rights organizations of burning villages, targeting civilians, and operating with near-total impunity. Caught in the middle, ordinary people, farmers, teachers, children, over 1 million people have been internally displaced. Schools have been burned to the ground. Entire communities have been forced to flee. And for years the international community offered little more than polite concern and carefully worded statements. But something shifted. A fragile, tenuous pause in fighting a humanitarian window opened up. And into that window stepped a pope who had something urgent to say. Pope Leo did not mince his words. In one of the most direct and morally charged statements to come out of the Vatican in recent memory, Pope Leo directed his message not just to the faithful but to those in power. He called out tyrants. He called out corruption. He reminded the world that silence in the face of suffering is not neutrality, it is complicity. Now, this is significant for several reasons. The Catholic Church holds enormous influence in Cameroon. Over a third of the country's population identifies as Catholic. When the Pope speaks, people listen, including people in government offices, military barracks, and presidential palaces. But what makes this moment even more extraordinary is the timing. Pope Leo is a new pope. The world is still getting to know him. His papacy is young. And yet, rather than easing into the role with diplomatic pleasantries and ceremonial visits, he chose one of his early moments on the world stage to look power in the face and call it what it is. That tells you everything about who Pope Leo intends to be. Here's the question that keeps coming up: why now? The conflict in Cameroon has been ongoing for nearly a decade. What made this the moment for such a bold, public statement from a brand new pope? Several analysts point to the recent humanitarian pause, a brief ceasefire window that created, for the first time in months, the possibility of aid reaching affected communities. Pope Leo's intervention appears deliberately timed to protect and extend that window. By putting the full moral weight of the Vatican behind the call for peace, he essentially made it politically costly for any party to be the first to break the ceasefire. There is also a message being sent to the broader Catholic world. Local bishops and priests in Cameroon have been sounding the alarm for years. Their reports of atrocities, documented, detailed, and devastating, had largely fallen on deaf ears internationally. Pope Leo's statement signals that under his leadership, those voices will not be ignored. That the Church will show up not just spiritually, but prophetically. Here's where it gets real. Papal statements, as powerful as they are symbolically, do not stop bullets. They do not rebuild burned schools. They do not bring back the dead. But they do something else. They change the conversation. They force governments both in Cameroon and among its international allies to respond. They give leverage to peace negotiators. And they give hope to people who have been told, in every possible way, that the world doesn't care about them. For the people of the Anglophone regions, people who have been living in fear, watching their communities crumble, this moment matters deeply. To hear a newly elected pope, fresh onto the world stage, choose their crisis as one of his first battles. That is not a small thing. That is a statement of profound solidarity. Let's zoom out. Because what Pope Leo did here goes beyond Cameroon. In calling out tyrants and corruption so early in his papacy, Pope Leo is drawing a line. He is signaling the kind of moral leadership he intends to provide, one that is unafraid to confront power, unwilling to be decorative, and deeply committed to the dignity of people the world forgets. He is also challenging the rest of the world's leaders, political, diplomatic, institutional, to ask themselves, if a new pope can say this clearly, this boldly, this soon, what is your excuse for staying silent? That question hangs in the air. And it should make a lot of powerful people uncomfortable. So what happens next? The ceasefire in Cameroon remains fragile. The humanitarian situation remains critical. But the world is watching a little more closely now, thanks in large part to Pope Leo's willingness to speak when others would not. Here at Royal Chronicles, we will be watching this story closely because this is the kind of moment that history remembers. If this video gave you something to think about, share it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Pope Leo's intervention will make a real difference? Is this the kind of papacy you were hoping for? And if you're not yet subscribed to Royal Chronicles, what are you waiting for? Hit subscribe, ring that bell, and join a community that refuses to look away from the stories that matter. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and remember, every story deserves to be told. Asterisk.